Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has tabled India's economic survey for 24-25 in the Parliament, providing an assessment of the performance of the economy in the current fiscal year. As per the report, 17 new Vande Bharat trains and 228 coaches were produced between April to October 2024. Speaking of digital connectivity, as of October 24, 5G services have been launched in all states and union territories. Of course, there are many such infrastructural milestones and developments that India has managed to achieve in the past financial year. Before we open up that conversation with our guests, let me now quickly take our viewers through the details of what is it that India has achieved in the past financial year. We've been told, as far as the infrastructure push is concerned, for railway network expansion, 17 new Vande Bharat trains have been introduced and 228 coaches have been produced. 17 new Vande Bharat trains introduced between April to October 2024. Let's move on to the next big infrastructure development. Total number of Vande Bharat trains currently, viewers, stands at 68 and the total number of Vande Bharat coaches stands at 900. When we're talking about road transportation, India has a total road network of 63.4 lakh kilometers, including national highway networks of 1,46,195 kilometers. In phase 1 for road transportation, 383 plots covering 3,788 acres was allocated for industrial use in various sectors. Let's move on to the next aspect. Civil aviation. Airport operators and developers are pursuing a capital expenditure plan exceeding rupees 91,000 crores, which is of course upwards from what was witnessed in FY20 to now FY 2025. Airports cargo handling capacity has reached 8 million MT in FY24, another big milestone that we've achieved. Ports and shipping, urban waterways projects valued at rupees 1,303 crores are underway, with 16 of the 30 projects already completed. So we're looking at projects worth thousands of crores, of which 16 are completed. Projects benefiting 35 lakh passengers. They will facilitate transport of 5 lakh vehicles and 1 lakh cargo trucks as well. Moving on to the next infrastructural development, power sector. Installed capacity has risen by 7.2% year on year to 456.7 gigawatts in November 2024. So not only have we achieved the delivery of electricity to homes, but we're also looking at greater power development. Total renewable energy installed capacity has increased by 15.8% year on year at 209.4 gigawatts, up from 180.8 gigawatts in December 2023. Coming to digital connectivity, by October 2024, 5G services were launched in all states and union territories. So we're looking at a fully 5G India. Over 4.6 lakh 5G base transceivers stations have been installed nationwide. So of course, we saw the launch of 5G and now we've been told that all of India has been covered by it as well. When we talk about information technology, as of November 2024, National Informatics Center supports 1,917 applications on its cloud currently. Moving on to, of course, the next aspect of rural infrastructure, over 12.06 crore families have been given access to tap water, increasing the total to more than 15.3 crores under the Jal Jeevan mission. So this is, of course, not just rural infrastructure, this is water infrastructure. 8 states and 3 union territories have achieved 100% coverage under the Jal Jeevan mission. So 8 states and 3 union territories have managed to achieve 100% saturation as far as the delivery of clean water under the Jal Jeevan mission is concerned to the people of India. Of course, I'm going to take all of these points forward with our guests and analysts who join us on the broadcast. I have with me right now, I see Akash Jindal. So let me begin with Akash Jindal. Akash Jindal, Some of the key factors that I've raised in this telecast, I want to get your perspective firstly on road transport, road, railway and civil aviation. How do you view some of the numbers that have come out and the fact that, of course, we're really now focused on achieving 100% connectivity through road, railway and civil aviation?
So, wonderful, welcome move. See, we all know this government has always been bullish on infrastructure. This government has always laid a lot of stress on infrastructure. Last year also, last budget also, there was a lot of allocation on capex and infrastructure. And this year also, infrastructure is going to be the key. Road connectivity, railway connectivity, aerial connectivity. I think they are going to focus maximum on this. And this is how India is going to grow. See, today we have to realize one thing, that now we are not competing with any smaller economy. We are the fifth biggest economy. We are the fastest growing economy amongst bigger nations. So we are competing with America, China, Germany and Japan of the world. So I think infrastructure is something which is much, much needed. So I think I'm totally with this government when they're laying focus on infrastructure, because we want to be big in manufacturing. To be big in manufacturing, we need to have global infrastructure. We need to compete clearly with China as far as infrastructure is concerned. That's how manufacturing would boom. Once manufacturing booms, manufacturing would be key for job generation, because we need lots and lots of jobs. We have the highest population in the world. We need lots of jobs. So manufacturing is the key for our growth. Manufacturing is going to cater to our domestic demand, because our domestic demand is going to be our strength. See, globally, we all know that there is a slowdown. Plus, there are certain things which have not been said in the economic survey. Now, with what we are seeing from US is that tariffs may be levied on certain countries, and maybe going ahead, there could be a tariff war also. So I think global slowdown could intensify, but domestic demand is going to be strong. So I think we have to have a focus on manufacturing, and for manufacturing, infrastructure is key. So infrastructure
Okay.
now, firstly, number one, while building infrastructure, a lot of job generation would be done. That's very important for us. After building infrastructure, it would create lots of jobs, because manufacturing would boom. Thirdly, now we all know China is quite weak now. China initially had real estate issues, they had debt issues. Now China is suffering from deflation, and there could be tariffs on China going ahead. So what it means is that India has a golden opportunity to be a manufacturing superpower. So infrastructure is very important for that. One is this is the economic angle. Secondly, infrastructure is very much required social angle also, because if you have road connectivity, if you have rail connectivity, then anybody, any person who needs medical help can be transported quickly to Delhi, Mumbai.
Yes.
Students can quickly go to schools, colleges, hospitals. So infrastructure would serve both the purposes. See, this government wants to have growth and welfare. So growth infrastructure would boost. It would boost the GDP growth. It would boost manufacturing. It would boost employment. On the other angle, this government is too keen on social sector development. So infrastructure development would ensure that a patient reaches hospital quickly, particularly to a bigger city, a multi-specialty hospital. Infrastructure would ensure that students, they reach schools, colleges, particularly our daughters in villages. There is problem still that in many of the interior villages, our daughters, 14 years, 12-year-olds, they're deprived of education because our daughters can't reach schools, or for higher education, they can't reach colleges. Now, infrastructure, good roads, railway connectivity would mean that our daughters can reach schools, colleges, universities, and they can get good education. So I think infrastructure serves both purposes.
Okay.
So I am totally supportive of the government as far as their complete focus on road, railways, airline, aero connectivity, and already till now this government has been focusing on infrastructure, and that has paid dividend. That has paid dividend in terms of GDP growth. See, 2023-24, we had 8.2% GDP growth, which was the fastest amongst bigger nations. So we have already seen growth. Last year also, we saw a lot of global conflicts, a lot of global geopolitical issues. Russia-Ukraine war continued throughout the year. Middle East problem was there. Plus, there was certain other potential threats which could have happened. Bangladesh economy, we know how it impacted us. Pakistan also was very weak. But still, because we focus on infrastructure, we kept on growing. We showed a robust growth. I mean, robust in terms of global comparison. If you compare us with a country like England, UK, now for 2 months,
Yes.
that is September and October, they had negative GDP growth. They declined, and we have been growing. We have been growing
Okay.
at a much faster pace.
Okay.
Prior to that, we have seen.
Okay, Akashanda,
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
come back to you. I want to bring in Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya into the conversation as well. Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, as far as expenditure on infrastructure is concerned, yes, there was a little bit of a dip, but that was also, as far as last year is concerned, that was also simply because there were Lok Sabha elections. But we have seen, as the economic service also pointed out, that the government then did pick up pace once a stable government was back in power. Indian Railways has expanded with 17 new Vande Bharat trains and added 228 coaches between April and October 2024. The Amrit Bharat station scheme is currently redeveloping over 1,000 stations. Then there are also schemes which are focused on providing affordable medication at some of these stations. While we have over the past few years focused a lot on the progress made as far as the aviation sector is concerned, somewhere I guess the conversation has to dial back down to our railway infrastructure as well, because ultimately that is extremely crucial for countries that want to become, as Akash Jindal also pointed out, manufacturing hubs. A lot of that depends on great train services and great railway infrastructure. So your thoughts on the numbers that have now come out in the economic survey as far as railways is concerned?
Right. I think, basically the economic survey shows how well we have done last year. So it's more of a report card. And overall, it seems to say that we have done a good job, which is good. In coming to a specific question, that in terms of manufacturing, are we doing enough from a supply chain perspective, especially from a railways perspective? Look, we are catching up, and we are catching up at a breakneck pace. And it's not just railways, we also need to focus on waterways. 40% of Europe's goods are transported over waterways, which is why they are efficient, they are also environmentally friendly, and that's something we need to open up. The British had burned down all our river ports because they did not want the rivers to compete with the trains. But we need to focus on both the railways and the river ports and make sure that our supply chain is that much more efficient. Now, as part of the Bharatmala project, we have connected all the ports to very good railways, and as with the railways growing, we are able to connect the ports back to the hinterland, which means that the ability to evacuate from the ports and bring it back to manufacturing hubs, add value, and then send it back to the ports is going to become much cheaper, and that's really the backbone on which we can start competing with the rest of the world, especially with China. The main difference, China invested some $7 billion way back in 2004, which was funded by ADB, to make sure that their dedicated freight corridors are absolutely state of the art. And for a very long time, we haven't done the same. So we are really catching up from a railways perspective. Most of the trains that you talked about, Devika, are actually passenger trains. Which
Yes,
is the
exactly. No, right? You're right. My question was, I highlighted Vande Bharat because that's the numbers that have really been highlighted. But you're right. I was, in fact, my question was about our freight capabilities.
Right.
Go ahead,
and
yes.
It really matter because the infrastructure needed to make sure that the Vande Bharat trains operate at a high speed means you need to have a dedicated freight corridor so that the passenger trains don't clog it up. So therefore, the two trains operate at different speeds. And therefore, we need to continue to work on the dedicated freight corridors to make sure that our supply chain is unclogged. And that's work in progress.
Okay, I want to, on that note, also bring in Mr. Vinod Rawal into the conversation. Mr. Vinod Rawal, your thoughts as far as infrastructure is concerned, specifically also on digital connectivity, some of the numbers that have come out on our achievements as far as 5G rollout is concerned.
Yeah, Devika, actually on the digital connectivity, if you have specific questions on that, first I think let's take up the other side. She has focused so much on the tax reliefs, on the tax simplifications, on the fiscal policies. On that front, she is very robust on that. She has made more collections. Now, if you talk about the digital connectivity of 5G, they have specifically gone I need to check the numbers. Actually, I have not gone through the particular numbers. If you can allow me a few minutes.
Yes. Sir, what has been announced is that 5G services have been rolled out across the nation, covering 779 out of the 783 districts, while over 4.6 lakh 5G based transceiver stations have also been installed. My simple question is, I'm not too focused on the numbers, but just your assessment and understanding of how crucial our delivery of fast speed internet will be in the coming years for India's growth story.
Yes, if you really compare with the world, we have introduced 5G, and even Reliance is coming out with the 6G even. They have already come out with their plans. So the digital connectivity has made this country more robust. We are now, if you really see as compared to the whole world, Indian internet services are cheaper, they are affordable for every citizen, and government has completely supported this from the day one. And now with this economic survey, they have given this as a fintech and digital payments. See the UPI, it's completely working on the digital platforms. So if you really see, this is the backbone of this country for the last 10 years, completely backbone. So 5G more rollout, it is in the swing. She has already given an indication. I think we are awaiting the budget tomorrow, how much allocations is given to this sector. And with the introduction of AI, I am going one step further. With the introduction of AI, now this digital infrastructure will be a key part for any country to grow. You cannot go beyond, if your internet speeds and your internet reachability is not to the rural areas, so it will be very difficult to avail the benefits of UPI and all. And this government is clearly streamlining all the objects according to that. So digital infrastructure, they have basically now they have come out that they will be giving BPO sectors also to grow. They will be given export-led growth now. So now we are eyeing, since with the drop in IT boom last year, now they are again keeping an eye on that how this AI can be availed, how we can open up this BPOs and KPOs in our country. For that, this already Gift City and all has been projected that way. So this digital transformation for this country in last so many years has surpassed so many other countries. We are number one in that. I think no one in this world is reaching to that targets as we are completing it, we are implementing all that. So we are the best implementers, not only in the planning aspect. This economic survey has given the complete numbers. As you have said that we are not discussing numbers here, so I am dropping it there. So if you really see the overall view, so the complete UPI we have come out, now the whole world, European Union, everybody is keeping an eye on us. And if I am not wrong in saying that United States has talked about tariffs and all that, so there is a fear due to that UPI also. That de-dollarization, the BRICS countries, which the warning has been issued day before, that's one of the cause that UPI has taken the lead in all that, and the countries are coming forward to adopt that digital payments, as in this country which was next to impossible to do. Now Paytm and all, I don't want to promote any brand. So, but the thing is that so many companies with the digital payments have surpassed. Even a ready wala, a vendor is using it for 10 rupees, which was impossible earlier.
Okay.
So I think this is one of the key aspect of this whole economic survey, that they are keeping an eye on AI as well as digital. With that, the development in infrastructure coupled with that.
Okay, at the same time, Mr. Vinod Raval, your thoughts on the economic survey really stressing on the need for further private investment in India's larger infrastructural projects. How do you view, that's something of course that the government is talking about for a very long time. There have been several schemes and mechanisms that have also been put into place for that, like the National Infrastructure Pipeline. We've had the PM Gati Shakti scheme as well for this particular purpose. But how do you think the government can really achieve the target of pushing more private players into our larger infrastructure projects?
See, the government has come out with so many plans. Even we were the first one to adopt the semiconductors manufacturing in this country. We were thinking of the aviation industry to come here for their specific ancillary industries. So for that, the first thing was connectivity. With that PM Gati Shakti and the railway network and the whole road network, which has been multifold in last few years, it has given a big boom to that industry. So now if you say that how private operators will be coming, Devika, I will say that private operators, they are being welcomed. However, the FDI has gone down. This is a concern for this government. It's a challenge. There are 3 challenges they have to face with that. But with the private operators has to come because it's a big market. You cannot ignore us. There is a lot of development happening here. For the operators are looking for the opportunities. So I think that we need to wait for the budget to come tomorrow for the allocations and the schemes to mobilize. But this economic survey is giving a hint towards that this government is committed towards all these developments, infrastructural development, which is a backbone for any country. Even 2 days before, even the president today in the parliament has said that now train is from Kanyakumari to Kashmir direct. So this is a big achievement that we have now can travel directly from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. To the whole country is now connected with that one sector itself. If you see the road sector, now there's a lot of development. So this is all being happening with the private public-private partnership itself, and it is one of the area of that.
Okay, Jayjeet Bhattacharya, your thoughts on the same as well. How do you think the government will, over the next many years now, really push for further private investment as far as infrastructural projects are concerned? Because the government does recognize that a lot of its ambitious plans, they don't just need more funding, but they would require more innovation, more expertise, and perhaps also a little bit of a push from the private sector as far as R&D is concerned.
So let's go back to a little bit of history to understand the government thought process. From around 2004 onwards, for the rest of the decade, PPP was the mantra, where it was supposed to be private sector who was supposed to drive the infrastructure. Initially, it did take off, but it left the industry in tatters with overstretched balance sheets which could not really take forward the infrastructure projects, non-performing assets, those which also bogged down the banks because the banks had given the loans. And because of many issues which I don't want to cover in this short time, it was a bit of a disaster. It led to the downfall of many companies and to the stretching of the banks itself. Therefore, when the new Minister for Road Transport and Highways came in and the new government came in, they focused on having the government drive the infrastructure with a view that once things have stabilized, then they will come back to the private sector instead of trying to flog kind of a half-dead horse, which was at that time the large private sector with overstretched balance sheets. Therefore, what the government's policy was that the government will build the infrastructure and then they will go through the asset monetization route, which is basically in a way give out these infrastructure on long-term leases, such as 30 years, 90 years kind of lease, and then get back that money, which will then be invested back for creating more infrastructure. And really the rationale is that when the government executes, the risks are much lower, and therefore they can execute at much lower cost. And once that is done, they can sell it at a significant premium, therefore helping out the treasury and therefore being able to create more infrastructure. Now, this mechanism itself is also involving private sector, because at the end of the infrastructure development, the private sector does come in. But moving forward, the viewpoint would be that can we divert some of the treasury money into other activities rather than infrastructure, because perhaps the private sector can step in areas such as river ports, railways, airports where private sector is already there, and shipping ports and so on and so forth. So that is probably one of the mechanisms that will get tried out. Also, please do keep in mind that the attempts of the government in asset monetization has not been very encouraging when compared with the target that they're put in. Obviously, the target that they're put in were stretched targets, there were big targets that they're put in, and the asset monetization did not really lead to that kind of targets. But the government is sitting on top of these very, very valuable assets whose value is going up year on year. And therefore, while the value is locked in these assets, moving forward to fund more infrastructure, it is but logical for the government to let the private sector step back into a sector now that their balance sheets have improved and they have got the capability to really invest into the infrastructure and do it in, as you rightly said, in an innovative manner by bringing in more technology, by bringing in new ways of putting up the infrastructure, and that will propel India into the Viksit Bharat that we are all looking for.
Okay, Akash, Chindal, I'll leave the last word with you. Your thoughts on the same as well. We've, of course, discussed and put out several of those infrastructural key milestones. But quite interestingly, it was also, one aspect that we've not covered yet is some of the milestones achieved as far as the rural sector is also concerned. Your thoughts on the fact, we've managed to provide under the Jal Jeevan Mission pipe drinking water to 79.1% of the rural households. 8 states and 3 union territories have in fact made this achieve the target of 100% coverage. How crucial will that be for India to achieve in the next decade, for us to have 100% saturation as far as clean drinking water is concerned?
I think that's very, very important. See, clean drinking water, primarily, clean drinking water is the most important thing any household in any village wants and requires. So I think we have taken great step towards providing clean drinking water to each and every household. Because what happens is, see the other angle, if our households in villages, any sort of remote village, if they don't get clean drinking water, what happens is hygiene suffer, medical problems erupt, and that is where the health budgets, not only of the country, but the households, they get toppled. So I think it's very important that we are working towards a target where clean drinking water is being provided to each and every household. Now, if you ask me how much have we achieved, I don't think that we have gone a long, long way. Yes, we have made a beginning. We have already made a beginning. Already we are going on that pace. But in this, what is important, Devika, is there is some help which is required from state governments also. Now, central government is going all the way, but some coordinated effort from state governments is also required to do that. I think in certain places there are certain tie-ups. State governments are also working with the central government. I think we have to work much more practically relevantly when the state governments or certain NGOs also join the central government. As far as central government is concerned, I think in this budget there is going to be much more allocation on this to provide clean drinking water. Firstly, the connectivity here, infrastructure here also is very important, because many of the villages don't have that sort of tap water connectivity up to the households. So one priority is to have the tap waters in each and every household, so that at least the basic infrastructure for having clean water at each and every household is there. Secondly comes the depleting water level. That's also an issue. The depleting water level of our rivers, again an issue. Now, oceanic water, we have tried cleaning it, we have tried desalinating it, but still that success has not been achieved. So one thing is, we need sufficient water for that. We need sufficient clean water for that. Secondly, we need connectivity. Thirdly, I think some cooperation from states and NGOs is required to do that. We are definitely going that way to help. But I think we have lot more to achieve in that concern. Now, answering one question which you asked one of my co-panelists, as well as digital connectivity is there. Let me share some data also, some facts. As of now, India has topped in digital and online transactions throughout the world. Neither it's US nor it's China who is leading the digital transactions. We are the number one in digital transactions. And digital infrastructure and 5G, I think I'm totally supportive of the government. We need 5G because everything is happening through digital connectivity. Money is flowing through digital means. Forex is flowing through digital means. Food is being ordered through digital means. Information is being communicated through digital means. We are also doing shows through digital means. Even litigations are happening through digital means. So I think we should work on road infrastructure and railway infrastructure, but digital infrastructure also is very, very important. And I must mention that still we have a long way to go. I sit in Connaught Place, the heart of New Delhi, which is again the heart of India. But still, when we go to banks, there are instances when we are told, "Bhai sahab, connectivity nahi aa rahi. Kab aayegi? We don't know."
Yes.
So I think our banking, very, very crucial banking, is running on digital connectivity, and there are loopholes. We have to accept and admit the reality. There are loopholes. We need to plug the loopholes. We have to have a very good infrastructure. Plus, we have to sustain and maintain the infrastructure. What I think in digital connectivity is, in certain cases, certain places, you have infrastructure, but maintenance and consistency of that infrastructure is something which is very, very important, because people start off living on that. Businesses are built on the basis of that. Still, what happens is, I drive a lot on highways. Now, the biggest highway, Delhi to Amritsar, there are places where you don't get connectivity. How you do online shows, how you do online transactions there. There are, tourist places in India where you don't have connectivity. You take money in your mobile, and the person there, standing there, "Bhai sahab, ye nahi chalta, note hai to nikalo." So these are certain realities which we have to accept and understand and relate to. Connectivity and maintenance and consistent performance of that connectivity is something which is required. Because what happens is, we build lifestyle businesses on the basis of digital connectivity. All of a sudden, when connectivity is not there, everything is run apart. So that's very important, to have best of connectivity, maintenance, and of course consistency of the connectivity, in case we want to grow faster than the world, which we are doing.
All right, I've run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us to take the conversation forward.